Welcome to the Economy Magazine. I'm Benjamin Chong Alfares with the top reports from the world economy. Coming up today, Samsung and Apple face new old competitor, and in Kinshasa, people gradually get access to power. First, the headlines. Alibaba filed to go public in the US for what could be the largest ever initial public offering there. Though Alibaba did not specify how many shares it will offer, the e-commerce giant's estimated market value is nearly $170 billion. Sources familiar with the details have said Alibaba will sell a 12% stake, which could make the offering around $20 billion, topping Visa's offering in 2008. As part of the IPO, Yahoo is expected to sell as much as half of the shares it currently holds. We have more following the headlines. German factory orders unexpectedly fell in March, signaling that growth in Europe's largest economy remains uneven. Orders fell 2.8% from February, when they increased a revised 0.9%. Domestic orders decreased 0.6% in March from the previous month, while export orders declined 4.6%. Orders from the euro area fell 9.4%, while those from outside the bloc dropped 1.7%. Though the European Commission in its quarterly forecast said the German economy is set for dynamic, broad-based growth, the Bundesbank warned that expansion will slow noticeably after a very strong first quarter. Egypt's former army chief and current presidential candidate Abdel Fattah al-Sisi warned that the country's costly energy subsidies should not be lifted quickly. Heavy spending on energy subsidies has taken a toll on the economy, but raising energy prices could trigger protests. Sisi warned that sudden subsidy removal would spark price inflation and ultimately public discontent. Blackouts have become commonplace in Egypt, and worsening power cuts are expected in the hot summer months when Egyptians keep their air conditioning running day and night.
The subsidies can't be removed suddenly. People will not tolerate that, and we, the people, as soon as the subsidies are removed from a certain object, prices are suddenly increased by some people. If subsidies are removed from electricity and the gas, people will not be able to tolerate this. I want to make people rich first. Instead of earning 1,000, I want that person to earn 1,500. I'm speaking about all citizens.
In relation to concerns expressed regarding Sisi's stance on pre-existing peace treaties, the aspiring future president of Egypt ensured that all international treaties that Egypt is part of would be respected.
I respect all accords, laws, and international treaties, including the peace treaty with Israel. Let me say in a message to the Israelis that there is a real chance to create peace where you can offer something to the Palestinians.
Indians started voting in the 8th phase of the country's 10-phase general election. The current phase of polling in 64 Lok Sabha constituencies across the country is crucial for the incumbent Congress Party, which holds nearly half of the 64 seats in India's lower house of parliament. The past week saw fierce attacks and counterattacks between the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Gandhi-led Congress coalition that is battling public fury over a slowing economy, high inflation, and a spate of corruption scandals. Opinion polls show the BJP, led by Narendra Modi, taking the largest share of seats when results of the 5-week election are announced on May 16th.
People are frustrated with the way Congress has led the country. The party's fate will be decided, and the Bharatiya Janata Party will win, and people will make Narendra Modi the Prime Minister.
Yacht Time, Israel's largest classified ads website, sold to Germany's Axel Springer Digital Classified for $234 million. Israel's telecom giant Bezeq said it was important to choose a buyer who could guarantee the continued development and success of Yacht Time. The sale of Yacht Time to Axel Springer, publisher of Germany's best-selling daily Bild, leaves Bezeq with a pre-tax capital gain of $162 million. The final sale is contingent on regulatory and other approvals and a commitment by Bezeq not to enter Yacht Time's business for the next 2 years. The takeover of Nokia's phone business by Microsoft adds another serious competitor in the smartphone race. Time will tell how they will fare. Joan Citruk and Daniel Roth have more.
As the war between Apple and Samsung reaches heightened levels, Nokia is not out of the game. Microsoft, which formalized its acquisition of Nokia for $7.2 billion, will now yield a similar spread of products on both the software and hardware ends of the spectrum. This marks an important strategic development as Microsoft had been mostly in the software market. 90% of Nokia's handsets were running on the Windows operating system.
Nokia were pricing their handsets at a very expensive price in order to turn in profitability, but found that they're actually burning cash. Microsoft have more funding, more resources, more technology. They can actually start pricing these handsets at more of a competitive price and allow more access to earners, low-income earners who are more, particularly in the emerging market space, who have the funds to actually buy handsets now.
Nokia was once the leader of the mobile market, but they missed the move to smartphones launched by Apple's iPhone in 2007 and amplified by the success of Samsung. In 2013, Nokia took in only 3% of the global market against 32% for Samsung and 15% for Apple. But with Microsoft's move, Nokia is back in the race.
For Nokia, it seems like they managed to get rid of their problem child, and now Microsoft is now the new parents of this adopted child, and they're looking to teach it some manners, to work in a more efficient way and become more of a formidable force in the overall smartphone market.
Of course, the Android is another major challenge for Microsoft. Google software has been crushing the competition with over 78% of the market share, growing about 10% between 2012 and 2013.
Over now to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where conflict and corruption means electricity is a luxury few can access. But all that is set to change in one neighborhood of the capital, Kinshasa. Here's the story.
Most people living in capital cities take electricity for granted. But here in Kimbanseke, a suburb of Kinshasa, candles and generators are the norm. But for the last 8 months, workers have been laying miles of cables so that residents can finally connect to the grid.
These TVs don't work. There's a faulty current. If we could, we would use them, but we need generators, and they don't last long. They always break down.
The huge operations being carried out by the Democratic Republic of Congo's electricity company, with help from more than $1 billion of aid from the World Bank. In total, more than 60,000 homes will be connected.
I think with all the provisions in place, in the end there will be an improvement in the distribution of electricity.
Years of mismanagement, conflicts and endemic corruption have led to widespread poverty and insecurity in the DRC. And only 1 in 10 people have access to electricity. Little surprise, then, that the first recipients of the new network are fiercely protective.
We'll burn alive anyone caught stealing cables. We won't take them to the police because they will be freed by corrupt police. They'll serve as an example to other potential thieves.
As well as expanding the network, the government is also constructing several dams, but the power generated will mainly go to the country's mining companies and to South Africa. Even so, little by little, in Kimbanseke, power is reaching the people.
And as promised, I-24 News journalist Daniel Roth joins us now in Media Watch for a closer look at our top report of the day, Alibaba's listing in the U.S. Daniel.
How's it going?
Alibaba.
This is the news today. It's all over the place.
Yes, it's everywhere.
Huge.
It's anticipated, though.
Yeah, people. We reported on this a couple of months ago.
Of course.
People were getting ready for it, and the number one thing to know is that all of the numbers we're reporting can change and are changing even just in the last few hours. People were talking about 15 billion. Will it beat Google 16 billion? Facebook 16 billion.
20 billion.
20 billion now.
The numbers are all over the place.
Yeah. So that's the number one thing. But now Alibaba is not well known in the West, which is surprising and kind of funny, but it's true. but it's a huge company.
Right.
Their revenue grew 62% in the fourth quarter of last year from the year before to $3 billion. It's an enormous company that we're talking about.
Right. I guess, it's a Chinese company. Hey, they have a huge market, right?
They have a huge market, and actually they've been getting out of China. All the teenagers around the world, it's mostly now adults who haven't heard of them. Teenagers are hearing about them. That's where they're buying things because it's cheaper to buy things there.
Right.
It's cheaper to buy things from China than it is from the U.S. That's just a fact of the global economy. And so Alibaba Group is poised to really take over everywhere.
Right. Give us a little rundown of numbers. Let us put things in perspective here. Why are they so relevant and why are they so big?
Well, let's take one example for a moment. Let's take Yahoo, which owns just under a quarter of the company, 22.6%.
Okay.
They're valued at, by some counts, $39 billion, Yahoo. Now, their share of Alibaba is $36.7 billion. That means...
Presuming, of course, that the market value of Alibaba is whatever it is that they say it is, $150 billion.
Yeah, somewhere 150 to 200 billion, somewhere around that. But you're talking about Yahoo, which is an internet giant, historical, and they bought in the last year. They outpaced Google and Facebook in terms of acquisitions of smaller companies like Yelp, Tumblr, all kinds of different things. But you're talking about a company that is basically just a shareholder in Alibaba.
Right.
That's Yahoo. Just digest that for a moment. Yahoo is just a shareholder in Alibaba, which is this enormous company.
Less than a quarter, for that matter.
Less than a quarter, yeah. SoftBank, a Japanese company, owns more than them, 35% approximately. But if you're looking at the numbers, we can take a look at a few graphs. Actually, we have one from TechCrunch on mobile penetration.
Okay.
And do we have that up here?
No, not yet, I don't think. Oh, there we go. There it is.
So you're looking, and the revenue is just going up and up and up every year.
Right.
And the active buyers is going up and up and up. They have 231 million active buyers. That is an enormous number. If we take a look at another graph, it's the largest online mobile commerce company in the, it's enormous. It does $248 billion of revenue last year. It's got 11.3 billion annual orders. Like I said, 231 million annual active buyers. 49 purchases people do. When I go on Amazon, I do that once a year maybe.
Right.
They're talking average user does 49 purchases a year, which is enormous. And 136 million users are using it on mobile. So it's also making the jump in a big way.
You can obviously get more bang for your buck if you go through Alibaba.
Yeah, if we take a look, if we skip ahead, there's actually the entity comparison. Looking at the here's a graph. It's showing us all of the kind of pots that they're in, and then this one is the really interesting one.
Right.
This is the one that really gives you an idea. If you're from the West and you don't really know what Alibaba is, take a look at this. Alipay is PayPal. Aliyun is Amazon Web Services. Aliyun App Store, Google Play. You have Aliyun OS is Android. AutoNavi, Google Maps. InTime is JCPenney. They've got the equivalent of Groupon, Dropbox, WhatsApp, Uber, eBay, Orbitz, Twitter, everything.
Sure.
This company is everything. It's basically all of the things that we've thought of in the West just rolled up into one. It's really a lot of the credit goes to Jack Ma, the founder.
Which brings me to another question, quite frankly. I mean, we don't really know so much about the people behind Alibaba. We hear about Jack Ma every now and then, but beyond him, nothing is really known.
Right, and it seems like they like it that way, and that's one of the reasons that the Hong Kong Stock Exchange didn't want them. So they look to the U.S., where apparently regulation is so lax that they can go ahead with whatever plans they have, and they have this two-tiered share ownership system, and a lot of the power is in the 28-person management team. And Jack Ma, this is a guy who was an English teacher 15 years ago, who had no prior experience in business and technology, who just said, you know what, I'm just going to make the biggest company ever. And that's what he did.
It was the right place and the right time, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, this got started as the U.S. was stumbling into the .com.
Still, they had about
bubble.
$60,000, if I'm not mistaken, to actually start up with. I mean, as an English teacher, he didn't obviously have that kind of money.
Right, but they got the 60 grand, but they started in this guy's apartment. It was like, this was, you can, if you do away with some of the extras, you can call this really a storybook process for Jack Ma.
No, I think it's really, in so many ways, it explains China. What China is, how big things are, and where things can go. Thank you very much, Daniel Roth, for joining us. This takes us to the end of this episode of, The Economy Show. And please send us your comments and join us again tomorrow.